This video has been heavily requested by you guys, and today I'm very happy to announce that it's finished and available for free via the Discord. I'll leave a link to that down below. On the Discord, inside the Warcraft category, you can locate everything you need within the resources thread. This covers everything from add-ons, profiles, weak auras, and in this video, I will show you how to set everything up to make it look exactly like mine. Don't worry, this is incredibly simple, assuming you already know how to install add-ons, which I won't be covering today. This isn't going to be a full guide on absolutely everything, but I will be jumping onto a fresh character to show you how to set everything up. And of course, if you only want certain parts of the UI, that's absolutely fine. Just skip the steps for the parts that you don't want to use. Before we begin, this is of course my UI, this is how I like it, and there are certain elements that I have disabled. I will get into that at the end of the video. And if I make any updates, improvements or changes, of course I will keep this updated on the Discord. Before we begin, there are a handful of add-ons you're going to need to download. This includes ElvUI, which you can download via their website. I'll have it linked down below. Along with this, you'll need OmniCD, Plater nameplates, details, and weak auras, which are all available via the CurseForge app. And if you would like the default sound pack that work with the dungeon weak auras, then you will also need to download shared media causes. This is also available on the CurseForge app. To the regulars on the stream, you'll know that I am using the Bastion sound pack created by myself. This is coming soon, but it will only be available to those that are sub to me on Twitch and of course my Patreons. I'm hoping to get that sound pack out in the next couple of weeks, but I will obviously let you guys know and I'll probably make a separate video on it. Alright, first things first, we have a fresh character. If your UI is a complete mess like mine, which it probably is, then just get rid of everything. I'm gonna move everything out of the way. I don't need to worry about that. I can skip. Cancel all this, disable the warning, it really doesn't matter. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to import the Blizzard UI. Of course, if you don't want to use this, that's absolutely fine, but I thought I would include it as well. So hit escape on your keyboard and go to edit mode. From the drop down box, simply go to import. We're going to paste in the code here. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Dillisan. Hit import and let it work its magic. This doesn't really change too much. I changed where the quest text was. I changed the talking head and a few other little bits and pieces. Again, very personal preference, but I thought I would include it. All right, on to ElvUI, and we have two resolutions available. We have 1080p and we have 1440. If you have a 4K monitor, I believe the 1440p resolution should work absolutely fine. You'll just have to tweak the scaling. This should also work the same for widescreen monitors, although you will have to change and move elements around. All right, so we're going to begin by opening ElvUI. We're going to do /EC to bring that up. We're going to go over to the left-hand side and click on Profiles. Go up to Import Profile up the top, paste in the code, and press Import Now. Let this work its magic. Once it's done and everything's changed, you can simply close it down. Now, before we move on here, the scale is very important, especially if you want the UI to look exactly like mine. So for 1440p, you use this scaled down to 0.6. And if you are using 1080p, you scale it up to 7. Obviously, it looks a bit different because I'm using 1440p, so I'm gonna take that back down to 6. So that's ElvUI, but we do have an optional add-on, which is a plugin to ElvUI, and that's called WindTools. Now, I'm not going to cover everything about WindTools. It does quite a few handy little things, like you can see the icons in chat right now, which is really nice. It puts shadows behind some of the bars. You've got the nice and tidy icons that would be your minimap icons, and it also comes with, if you press M and go to map, you've got the timers for feast, the keep, researchers, and time rifts, which is really, really nice. So if you want to download my profile for this, we'll go back into Elv, so /EC. Once again, go to the Profiles tab, make sure you have copied the code from Discord, again into Import Profile up the top, and just simply paste and import now. Press yes, the game will reload, and when it comes back, it should look something like this. So I haven't done too much for this. I've turned a few bits off, like the panel at the top. I really didn't want it. I hid the icons on the right and just made them mouse over. And there was some alerts that displayed and made an awful sound that I turned off when we had like 10 minutes until the time rifts. I really didn't like that. It does some other really cool things. I haven't really jumped into all of it, but yeah. All right, next on the list, we have OmniCD. Once again, copying the code from the Discord. Again, we have the resolutions 1080 and 1440. We're going to do /OC to open Omni. We're going to head over to profile sharing And then we're going to click the import button. From here, we're going to paste in the code and press decode. You get a message here to say that you are importing Dillisan's profile. Just press accept and then close. Now, I don't really know why it says import one Dillisan. Like, the naming process is a little weird to me. You can create a new one and just copy from, or if I select the Paladin here, for example, and just do copy from Dillisan, then you've got a prettier name. But yeah, that's entirely up to you. So I'm just going to drag this out the way. If we go to dungeons and press test, if you have done the scaling, it should look like this. So on 0.6 for ElvUI. If not, it's going to look a little wonky. So right here, we have some of the offensives and utility. We have the stuns and stops, or some of them at least. And then we have the interrupts growing upwards above the party frames. All right, next on the list, we have Plater. And I'm not going to lie, I pretty much took what Quasi had. I changed like the font and the appearance, but the color scheme is exactly the same. So we're going to open Plater. We're going to press /Plater and hit enter. From here, we're going to go to profiles, import profile, and then we're going to paste in the code. Now, you can give this a name down below. By default, it is set to Dillisan 2. I'm just going to take away the 2, press OK. And then your game should reload. And as you can see, if I close down Plater, you can see that all of the nameplates have changed and they look so much better. So this Plater profile in particular has 2 colored nameplates that you really need to keep track of. The mobs with light blue nameplates are mobs that do frontals. This could either be a frontal at the tank and you never want to stand with the tank anyway, or it could be something like the maggots in Underrot that will turn to a random player and will cast abilities that you really don't want to be standing in. The next one you need to take note of is pink nameplates, and these are casters. So these are obviously going to be hard for the tank to move if they're casting abilities, so you want to make sure you interrupt them as much as you can. But moving on to the casts, we have CC priority targets. And what I mean by this is there are 2 cast abilities that are very, very helpful. Now, we have important interrupts that have thicker cast bars. And then we have purple cast bars, which are, again, like the maggot in Underrot. You can't interrupt it, but you can stun the target. So when you do see these purple cast bars, you know that it's definitely something you want to take note of. You want to use some form of stun or stop. And if you have downloaded the shared media files we mentioned earlier, then some of these abilities play sounds to alert the player. And they pretty much sound like this.
CC, front, jump, reflect.
Now for nameplates, when it comes to tanking, there are 2 color types that you need to be aware of. The light blue nameplates are those mobs you have aggro on, and for the red nameplates are those you do not. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the details profile. So you can get to this by clicking the cog button here on details itself, or you can press /details config, and it should open up this box here. We're going to locate profiles. We're going to import profile, paste the code in from Discord, and press OK. We're going to give it a name, so I'm going to call it Dillisan. Press OK. And it should look something like this. Now, it's all personal preference, but because I love dealing lots of damage, I like having the segment damage window at the top. In the middle, I have the overall damage, and then typically I like to, let's right click this one, and I like to show healing sometimes, but it's also nice to look at interrupts, avoidable damage, and, you know, other various bits and pieces. All right, so in terms of the UI, that's pretty much it. You're pretty much good to go. Although at the beginning, there were a couple of things that I mentioned that I just want to touch on now. So first things first, I'm going to press /WA to bring up my weak auras. Now, I use this handy dandy weak aura to display my healer's mana. So my party frames are typically the healer at the bottom, where I can display their mana, because there's nothing underneath, right? The orientation I like having for my party frames at least is healer at the bottom, then tank, and then the 3 DPS above. So by default on Elv, the mana and all of the energy stuff, that's completely turned off because I really don't like it. If you want to do it this way, that's absolutely fine. There are alternatives. You can also enable the default one inside of Elv, but this is what I use. And while we're on this subject of weak auras, I don't actually have a cast bar. So if we start casting our Hearthstone, you can see we're casting Hearthstone, but we're not actually doing anything. And that's because I have it off by default, and I use a weak aura pack by Luxfos that, again, I have linked in the Discord. So as an example, I'm just going to show you what it looks like if I do /WA to bring up weak auras again. We're going to go import. I've copied the code already. I'm going to paste that in. I'm going to click import. That's absolutely fine. Placement's going to be a little iffy. We have to move it around and resize it. I think typically the group scale I do, is it 0.7? I think I'm just going to try 0.7, and then I'm going to drag the Y offset, bring that down a little bit. I think maybe around there. Okay, we go back into it. That's not quite right. We'll bring it back a little bit. And obviously, because I have not actually spec'd into much and I'm not max level, I haven't got a load of my abilities on the weak auras, but that's typically how I would do it. Obviously, the scaling of this and the position is all personal preference. But now if I go to cast my Hearthstone, you can see that I have the cast bar just there. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is that I don't typically have the stance bar enabled. So for the paladin auras and the warrior stances, I like having them as spells and using them as my normal keybinds instead of, I don't know, assigning a keybind separately to the stance bar. I mean, you can go in and enable it in ElvUI. That's absolutely fine. This is just the way I do it. So I put it on my bars and I just select which one I want from there. I just wanted to mention that I will be keeping this UI updated regularly, and I will post those updates to Discord. And if anyone had any questions, issues, or wanted to recommend anything, you can put those messages in the UI and add-ons channel in the Warcraft section on Discord. If you did enjoy today's episode and you love the look of the new UI, then a like would be much appreciated. But that's me done. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.